Hey everyone, welcome back to Afterthought FM. Today I thought we would dig into Daybreakers. It's a movie that seems to be pretty split when it comes to opinions. People either love it or they hate it. And it happened to be free on YouTube a couple of days ago, and I thought, okay, let's take a look at it. And I will say I did enjoy watching it, but I don't think it knows what it wanted to be. So, it has a genuinely strong concept. It wants you to be set in this vampire dystopia as a setting. It's dealing with a blood shortage, which would be their resource crisis. They're dealing with a class divide, which, would be the rich vampires versus the middle class versus the starving ones who are literally turning into monsters. And just sort of I guess that all culminates into the ethics of survival and, what do we do about this situation? Do we keep farming humans? Do we let our poor die? That whole situation. You could say it's mimicking, our real world situation, which we won't get into. This is not the podcast for that, but you get where I'm going. And I think that that's a really strong setup. It's so unique in what it's trying to do at the end of it, which we'll get into later. But basically, it's a strong setup. I gotta give it props. But it starts to feel off when you start thinking about it in terms of tone. I couldn't tell. I could. Obviously it wants to be a serious sci-fi, dystopian vampire situation. I get that. But it introduced so much camp. And I couldn't tell which way it wanted me to go. So, I just kind of, instead of taking it too seriously, I was like, I'm just going to go along for the ride, I guess. But there were so many moments that felt so grounded. And then suddenly it flipped into an exaggerated situation. And I thought, well, okay, this is what we're doing now, I guess. I also will say it had some underdeveloped world ideas. The blood shortage was so huge, but I don't know if it was deeply explored. It didn't really show. We could kind of surmise, that the guy's getting the blood coffee, quote unquote. And this is where spoilers come in. I'm so sorry. Spoilers in every episode. I should start prefacing every episode by that. It should be in the intro. But there's guys, vampires getting blood coffee, and it's 20% blood at the beginning of the movie, and then it drops down to 5%. We don't know if there was any middle intervals where it went down to 15 or 10. We don't know, and it's not even really explicitly said that that's the middle class, but he looked like a businessman. He looked I thought, okay, this is either upper middle class or whatever. And it didn't really say that. It was just in my mind. I thought, well, who gets coffee in line like that, versus having someone bring it to them, which would probably be the rich or whatever. It really just doesn't really dive into that. The only thing it says or shows explicitly is the lower class, the starving vampires that are kind of turning into monsters and kind of being what they're calling a nuisance, right? So it introduces these big ideas, but it doesn't sit with them. It doesn't explore them. It doesn't really explicitly say hey, this is who each, class block is or belongs to or whatever. Okay. I did mention the end being kind of a unique situation. Here's where we dig into that. The sunlight cure. It's so unique to a vampire situation. It's the controlled sun exposure is the cure, but too much is death. And I like the idea, but I don't know if I fully understand the rules. What is controlled? And why does it reverse instead of kill at a certain dosage, I guess? I guess I want to know what the threshold is, because even when you get to the end and the guy's in the pressure fermentation tank and they're doing controlled sun exposure, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's all dramatic, and he exposes himself to the sun 3 times, and he's like, ah, and there's the wet blanket and the fire extinguisher and all that. But that was 3 times versus the one guy, Willem Dafoe's character, only had to do it the one time, and I just want to know where the line is, you know? Or is it symbolic? You know? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not the one to break down that specific situation. But I mean, I can say too that, like, I guess anything in too much exposure can kill you, right? Like medication, radiation, if you want to go that far, you know, things like that. Like, I guess those are examples of, like, dosage matters. So I get, like, why they went with the idea, and I respect it, but I think I needed to know really how they were gonna lay that one out. You know, it needed to give me the rules so that I understood its own, you know, its own world building and its own situational context. So I just think that it should have leaned into more, maybe the symbolism, maybe campy, than to pretend it was, like, so grounded in science. I think maybe it should have leaned campy, if that makes sense. I think it would have been a fun ride. Again, it's not that I hate it. I actually I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. So, you know, the problem isn't that the ideas are bad. It's that it just doesn't commit to itself. It doesn't explain itself. It didn't give me enough, here's the rules, here's the situation, and we're gonna be silly. It just was like, we're so serious, and also Willem Dafoe is absolutely insane. Like, I don't know. It was cool still. I still like it. Hate me if you want. So yeah, Daybreakers is one of those movies where I like what it's trying to do more than what it actually does. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree. I'm curious really what the overall populace thinks. I know it didn't land well initially, but I think that, like, a lot of media doesn't land well initially, and then we end up, like, returning to it in droves, and we're like, why do we hate this to begin with? So I'm genuinely very curious. Let me know how this goes. This whole thing has just been me trying to make it make sense. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.